Hey everyone, I just finished recording with Darren Eads, and this episode was absolutely fantastic. Darren talked about how he used to have a lot of regret around his career, around what he wasn't doing, what he wasn't going after, and how it was really, really painful. But he got connected through his W-2. He was a private chef, and he really got connected to a billionaire, and he got in the mind of a billionaire. You're going to recognize who that is, but absolutely fantastic what he learned and how that person shifted his mindset. And he got his second wind in life. He started a company called Second Sale, which is not a coincidence. And, really the message of today is it's not too late. He's going after it. He's aligned his business with his personal life, and he's being a great example to his kids. And he's turned that pain of regret into absolute gratitude for what he's doing. It's a really impactful episode. Darren's a great friend of mine, and he's doing great things. Check it out. Hello and welcome to the Purpose Matrix. I am very excited for today's guest, Darren Eads. Darren, how are you doing, my friend?
Good, Phil. Good to be with you.
Great to have you. Darren and I have been talking for about a half hour, so we're a little late to start, but you won't know that as a listener but we're going to try to, this happens too often before and after the discussions. We have before the podcast itself, we have great discussions, and Darren and I were just doing that. We've solved a lot of the world's problems already, Darren, but let's solve some more right now. Before we do, I want to tell you a little bit about Darren. First, Darren from Dayton, Ohio area, has a really interesting background. Owner of Jarvis Mechanical, which he recently acquired with a partner about a year or so ago, and then founder of Second Sale Holding Company or Holdco, which is really neat and a lot of meaning behind that name. So we're going to tell you more about that. But really just has a really interesting background in working with family offices and a really important and impactful purpose to his business that involves his family that we're going to get into too. So before we do any of that, Darren, just back us up a little bit. Tell us a little bit more about Darren, who you are, and how do you get to where you are today?
Yeah, no, thanks. Thanks, Phil. So actually this is new to me because just with my exiting my W-2, I've been under confidentiality for literally my entire career. So I haven't been able to really talk about anything. So this is actually refreshing, and it's nice to kind of tell my story. So I was a chef for one, and then I got into the private chef world just purely out of accidentally. I was going to open up my own place, a restaurant, and that was always the dream. And then I realized you have to own it, obviously, and all those things. And then I realized I didn't want to be the divorced dad at 40. And I had one child at the time. I have a wife of 29 years and 3 kids as of today, and a pointer. So I literally just got into the private chef world, and then 3 families later, diving into that, it was a great way to make some money and also to raise a family. But I always had this inkling to wanting to own my own business, and I just didn't know how. Starting out, I was never guided. My parents were, they had their own struggles of getting out of their own families, and they got into the suburban world and did great things to set me up, but they just didn't know, especially financially or anything. They definitely lived their whole careers for their retirement. They're retired and everything's fine, modest, and they're extremely happy. So then I worked for 3 families in the private chef world. I didn't know. I always thought you had to start something, start your own business from 0 to 1. And I just plugged away different ideas, different things. The execution side wasn't there. And I was not as risky or wanting to, because I'm trying to raise 3 kids. And then Clay Mathile, the last family I worked for, a billionaire in Dayton, hopped in my life. And that's when I worked for him for 18 years. And that's where the education began. He started, I remember being on his private jet in his G5, just him and I flying over Tennessee, going down to Florida, and he's exposing me to this whole different world of, owning your own business. Not only that, but having assets and owning apartments and so forth. And so I was certainly a sponge and just took it all in over a 5-year period.
So I'll jump in. So first of all, Clay Mathile, local, not just, yes, local business owner relative to the Dayton market, but if I get this a little bit wrong, Darren, you'll correct me, but he worked for IAMS, became the owner of IAMS Pet Food, who then sold it to Procter and Gamble. And then Clay went on to found what the organization, if you've heard of it, we've talked about it a little bit on the show before, Aileron, which is really a center to help develop leaders, help small businesses, help entrepreneurs grow their business, scale their business. And he's having a phenomenal impact still today. He passed away in the last couple of years, but still having a great impact on so many people, which, by the way, is a great example of, you said he's a billionaire, and he probably became that because his level of leadership and the impact he was having. And to put his character in perspective too, I think, not to degrade you at all, Darren, but you're his private chef. I'm sure there's billionaires that are not treating their private chef like Clay did. They just might, choose separate lives and just cook my food. And I'm not trying to be derogatory to you, but I'm sure that is the case from time to time. Whereas he's saying, hey, let's talk. Tell me about, so that's Clay. And this is so interesting because you came from a mindset of, you weren't guided as a child and as a young adult from a business perspective. I'm sure you got some guidance, but from a business and finance perspective, that's your words. You said you weren't guided. And all of a sudden you have this billionaire investing their time in you. And curious, how did those, was that nerve-wracking for you to even have those conversations? Did you know him well enough? Was there just a comfort there? Did you ask a ton of questions, or did you just, tell me about the interactions with a billionaire?
Yeah. So, my world in that, I was down in Palm Beach and into the mega, that whole world. And yeah, it was completely, I was involved with families who had, 5 homes around the world, 365-foot yacht, and then a fleet of jets. And so it's madness from that standpoint. And through those, I was kind of building my own criteria of who I would work for. And I was searching for Clay. And I didn't know if it existed. Like, for example, I would only work for first generation, the ones who built their business. There's, so I had my short criteria of things that, for that. So when I met them, I was shocked when that him and his wife came down the hallway and just sat down, and we had a conversation through the interview process. So they were extremely modest, and just, they're just great, awesome, people. So you would never guess the wealth behind them of talking with them. And, they wanted just a normal life. And, they have a passion for their family and their kids, and, they do all that. But, he wasn't interested in, a true billionaire life. If I want to say, he was more about, like you said, with Aileron, building. He was really a builder of physical and programs. It just goes on and on and on. So,
and it sounds like, a phenomenal builder of people, quite frankly. And man, what I like about it is you're in this private chef world, but you knew what you were searching for. I think for so many of us, maybe we haven't clarified the criteria in our, if that's in our W-2 world, if that's in our just whatever interactions. Do we know what we're like? Are we even seeking mentorship? You were seeking a job that could provide you somebody that would really invest in you, care about you, invest in mentoring you. And so much credit to you. Like that's where, man, is someone could say, you got connected to Clay Mathile. You were so lucky. Like that'll never happen to me. Or they could say, hey, Darren identified this is the type of person I want to work for, because this is what I want to learn. This is who I want to become, and I need help getting there. And then you went and found it. So luck is when preparation and opportunity meet, right? You were prepared and ready for that discussion, whatever that interaction became. You were seeking that out. So credit to you. And the other thing I want to say about Clay is, you said there's so much wealth behind him. Just to make sure our listeners understand, you are not talking about financial wealth. You are talking about many different pillars of wealth and just contribution and giving. And just, he was a holistic wealthy person, not just a financially wealthy person. So I think that's so neat. So what are some of the things, the mindset shifts from, let's say years before that to, fast forward a few years after interacting with Clay and learning from him, and your own study and your own learning too, independent of that too, I'm sure. But, how has your mindset changed from before then to now?
From Clay, I definitely learned, how he treated people. Certainly his leadership and his touch, his connection. I saw him on a very intimate, private, in his home. But then, which he was the exact same as he was, outside of his home. And it wasn't even, I was searching for a mentorship. I don't even think I knew what that meant. He made me think a lot bigger, right? I think that's the big thing. He just thought so big, it just blew me away. I mean, he's thinking, generations down the way, after he passes away, and how he can set up, not financially. He didn't hand anything to anyone. It was more just setting up to do anything, their family wants to do and to succeed and all those things. So, it was really kind of helping me figure out, really to leverage assets, and how to get into that game. And he's really the one that encouraged me to get into, which is, which very well in multifamily space, and start investing and going down that road, which I did, both on the LP side and then eventually on the GP side. So he's the one who really kind of set me up, going in that direction.
Awesome. And we'll talk, so you went down the path of multifamily and eventually business ownership. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, and the name of your company, all the meaning to that. I love it so much. But I think there's an important leadership quality to highlight there. So if you're leading a small team, if you're coaching kids, if you're leading a big business, a small business, when you can help your team, the people that are following you, see bigger into their future, see bigger things in their future than what they can, the amount of just credibility, trust, respect that they will give you because you see more in them than they see a lot of times. Yep. They need, like your followers, they need courage to act. They need somebody that sees it in them that gets them over the hump to take the big step. That's what they need sometimes. So when you can see, this can be a 10-year-old kid that can play better in a baseball game. This can be a 23-year-old that is, working where you work and you're leading, and show them the potential in their career. This can be so many different ways, but I think it's such an important leadership quality when you have vision, not just for you and where you're going in your company, but for your team members and where they're going and their careers. I think that can be so impactful. So I just wanted to put a spotlight on that, because I think, you just highlighted that it made you think so much bigger. It gave you conviction. It gave you courage that has carried on past your time with Clay, quite frankly. So I want to talk about that a little bit.
Well, on that real quick, let me interrupt you real quick. I mean, Sean Solins, who is my business partner, we talk often about that, our dream or our vision needs to be bigger than our team. And as soon as their vision is larger, we're going to start losing people, and be able to message that and communicate that. And that certainly comes from, Clay and whatnot. So, it's these little things that just kind of creep in. So, it's been a fun ride.
Well, so he started to shift your mindset. Then that you've started to think about real estate, multifamily, but also, I want to talk really about what came after that and the shift to, okay, I want to become a business owner, because I think he probably gave you the conviction, courage that, okay, you can be a good leader, you can be a good business owner, and you wanted to, scratch that itch and give that a try. So tell me about that process leading up to business ownership.
Yeah. So, really that goes back to, getting into the right circles. And, this is, again, me learning and figuring out how to do this. I learned pretty quickly I'm not in the right circles. And that's where GoBundance came into effect, which you know very well, and how we met. And so I started getting in those right circles. I realized really quick that, my whole life was not aligned, with health and all these different things. So they were very helpful of getting my plan or my direction all in focus. And then on top of that, to really get my system, my organization and system in place, where in those habits every single day to get after, really the foundation to do what I wanted to do. So that was huge. Again,
I want to jump in on that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Darren. I want to jump in because I just heard this, maybe Craig Rochelle podcast. I don't know where it was, but like identifying your foundational habits that you have that get you going. Like if I get up in the morning and I don't work out, or I don't just get my heart pumping in some way, shape, or form. Like if I do that, I'm ahead of the game. I'm feeling energized before the kids wake up. I have more energy when the kids wake up versus I'm tired and, sluggish. Like, what is the foundational habit for you that just commit to every morning you're going to do this? And maybe it's a walk or a run, or a walk or a run or a lift, or it's just getting outside. Maybe it's, reading the Bible, reading scripture, reading a book, whatever, silence and meditation, whatever that is for you. Get your mind right. Get it right first thing in the morning. Identify the foundational habit that kicks off the day and just gets you in a great state of mind to go tackle it. So I think I just wanted to highlight that. So you started getting all your areas of life kind of in alignment is what I heard here. The circles, by the way, it's so important. Like the most underestimated, undervalued thing in the world is building your team, building your tribe, building your circles of like who is influencing you in every area of life. That can be who's influencing you in health, in faith, around your family, being a better father, mother, husband, wife, whatever it might be, and in business too. These things are so important and so undervalued in my opinion. We both have had the opportunity to be around a great group of guys that is trying to get better in all these areas of life. You started to get these things together. One thing we talked about a little bit is, tell me about family. Where did family fit into getting alignment, and how did that influence your path to business?
Yeah. Family, my three kids, my oldest daughter is a 25, and then I have two boys, 23 and 20. Two of them are out of college. And then my youngest is a junior at University of Kentucky. And, for the longest time, especially now being on the other side, I just kicked myself I wasn't guided. So, I'm late to the game, right? I'm 53 years old. And, especially now doing it, I'm like, God, I could have done this 20 years ago if I was in the right circles, the right habits, everything that we're talking about, that it is doable. And, I just didn't know. And, so I think that's the big thing for me. I just want to be able to get, whatever my kids decide to do, I just want them to be happy. And as they kind of create their own lives and everything like that, I just want to be able to be there and guide them, and at least give them opportunity to get them involved in the circles, whatever they need to talk to those people in those circles. And I'm in that position to do that now, and I will continue to do that. And so I always struggled with, again, I could have done this a while ago. And one of my buddies had mentioned to me, dude, this is the perfect time of that they are seeing you do this now at 53 and they're in the young 20s, and they see you've done this versus when they were younger, and they are just now starting and creating their lives, and how better, what a example to do that. So I certainly ride that, and I think about that every day. And so I'm crazy fortunate, and I adore them. I'm the word for me, and I think my wife would tell you, and my kids, I try to live every single day and everything I do extremely intentional with relationships, with anything that I do. I just try to be intentional. So I hope my kids feel that. And now we're just trying to figure out, how to live life with them. And so it's a lot of fun. So,
well, I just want to say, first of all, this is so much fun, Darren, and I can feel it. And I got goosebumps from this discussion. So you are killing it right now. You're doing amazing. This is awesome. A couple things. First of all, regret can be very, very painful. It can be Certainly. A hurtful thing. And, you can think about that and you can continue to regret. But I think once you take action, you can get rid of that pain. That's what I heard you say, is that you used to regret not taking action. Yep. But I also think as you did take action, you could connect the dots backwards and see why things fell in place the way they did. If you started a business 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you don't meet Clay Mathile, right? You don't meet him. If you buy a business and then you're not going to have the impact you're going to have now because you're exponentially more qualified now. Now, I'm not telling, okay, if you're listening, don't wait. I'm not telling you to wait. Okay, then don't use this as an excuse. However, if you are going to wait, whatever you're doing, be intentional about it. Have a purpose behind what you're doing. Go find the mentor that is going to help you and going to lead you to have an impact on people. But regret is painful until it's not. It doesn't have to continue to be painful, is what I heard. You met Clay because of it. And it's the other thing though is, this really gets me here is if you're 40, if you're 45, if you're 50, if you're 55, if you're 60, and you've dreamed of owning a business or doing something different or trying something, it's not too late. Let Darren be the example that it is not too late to try something, to go after something. And this can be in your career or other areas of life. And I've had multiple discussions with people in the last year around first thinking it's too late until hey, what is the example you can set for your kids? Because my kids they don't understand the hustle years as, we're hustling, but they didn't see us working 4 or 5 hours every single night. The discussions, the debates, maybe even the arguments, what should we be doing between Marcia and I to try to figure out what we're doing and what path we're going. They don't remember that stuff, right? Your kids are how cool is it to have your 20 to 25-year-old kids seeing it in person, you hustling, you grinding. And I'm sure it's harder than maybe it would have been at 30, but they're seeing it in person. So if you're listening, regardless of where your kid is, don't wait till then if you're younger. But if that's your age, no excuses. You can be such a great example for your kids to show how you're going to go after what your purpose impact is from a professional perspective. So that's a ramble. You got me fired up there, Darren, but I love it so much. Anything to add to that?
It's definitely not too late. And I think, it's really just I've never taken control of my 100% of my schedule and the freedom that goes along with it. I'm not saying owning a business is easy. Of course it's not. But I think it's more you're investing in yourself, and you are your destiny. And it's thinking much bigger. And, Clay will always say there's nothing more powerful than being able to provide for your team and their livelihoods and their life, and it's and taking the risk to do that. And Clay was big on that, and it's a big undertaking, but at the same time is so rewarding, and I love it every day, without question.
And it's like you have your second win, Darren. So I want to talk about that a little bit now. Let's get into this business ownership. So in the last couple of years, you really shifted your focus. Okay, business acquisitions. I'm going to find something. I referenced your business, Second Sale Holding Company. Tell me about the second sale. What does that mean? And then, talk me through the acquisition process in the first year or so of ownership.
Yeah, so Second Sale, I partnered with a friend of mine that we really just we raised our kids together. We were on the sidelines of sporting teams, and he coached my kids and I coached his, and that's how we met. And so we go way back, and we were actually going to get into real estate together, buy some single family, and then the market kind of tanked. And so then we started talking about owning a business. And so we started just slowly talking about that and how we do this. We started talking about our roles and what we're good at. And we realized that we are two totally different people, but we have the same goals of what we want to do. And, we complement each other extremely well. He's more on the sales side and revenue and marketing, and I'm more analytical of processes and systems and kind of that direction. So we started searching for a business. We weren't sure exactly how to do that. And so we formed Second Sale, and wanted to kind of set it up where we want to buy basically a company for the next 5 years. So a total of 5 companies is our goal. And basically a mini private equity type of direction. However, we just hated that stigma of private equity because they just come in, they have their system, they don't care about the people, and they're going to just blow it up. So we wanted to do the exact opposite. So we're looking for these companies with owners, legacy owners who've had the company for, 10 to 30 years. And they care about their people, and they care of that they keep them for a long period of time and at the same time grow the company. More lifestyle companies, how it was ran. And so that's where Second Sale comes in. So we wanted to basically be for that owner, the second sale of that company, where they can see that kind of moving direction. The hidden layer to that as well is, this is kind of the second wind of Sean and I's career as well, as we kind of pivoted as well. So there's several meanings in there. So it's just trying to convey, how we do that and being very transparent with the owners and what we're trying to do. And so we're with Jarvis Mechanical, and we'll get in with that. We've got, there's 25 employees and they're all still with us. And we take a lot of pride.
So first of all, I think Second Sale, you guys have a second wind, and you have energy, enthusiasm, intentionality behind what you're doing. There's so much purpose behind what you're doing, not just for business, not just for the employees, yes, but also the example you're providing to your kids at similar ages, it sounds like, with you and Sean. So
Absolutely.
neat. And you're giving these companies second wins around, what I read on your website is around the company's core values. And I want to talk about this for a little bit because, first of all, I wonder how many companies have core values established that they're living, or are you going in and you're saying, what are your core values? You're probably almost going through the exercise with them to show them what's important to them. And you're saying, okay, not only are we going to live up to those core values, we're actually going to put them in place, clarify what they are to your employees. And because of that process, whether you did that with Jarvis Mechanical or not, whether they had them in place or not, we don't have to go there. But you've kept every single employee. They feel like it's still a family-run business. It's still part. It's still kind of the culture. You haven't.
Yep.
Maybe you're making it better, but you're not getting rid of the good. You're keeping the good that's in place and maybe making some shifts to that, I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are, Jarvis Mechanical was, it literally operated the same as today as it did 34 years ago. Had 2 owners and still pen and paper. So these are great companies, or this one was a great company. It's just it's been a lifestyle company of, the owner realized that if he reaches $7.5 million of gross revenue, then his pockets are lined, everyone's happy, his employees are happy, and everyone's good. But if he reached up to 10 million, he'd be like, oh, that's too much work. Let's pull things back. And it's more kind of, we want to take it more strategically, grow the company. And then, like you said, there is no, these are family offices. I'm not saying they don't stand for anything, of course, but it's more just the messaging, getting those, core values involved, getting that buy-in and all those things, and carving that path of what we want to do full circle, which is totally fun. We're actually, Clay Mathile is still in my life, from the standpoint of, we are with Aileron, and they are helping us with all these things and growing Jarvis Mechanical and Second Sale. And he's with me every day. So it's a lot of fun. So we're on the search for the second company now.
That's so cool. And yeah, Aileron is a great organization. If you have, whether you're a CEO or president, they have courses and training for you. There's also networks you can tie into. There's also networks for your courses for your team members, operations leaders, things like that, leadership training. Aileron is an amazing organization, a beautiful campus that they have north of Dayton there. So that's so awesome. I want to ask you the guidance you'd give different people in different phases of life. So let's say like you're around 50. You kind of had the, mentorship, maybe the capital or the ability to get financing, maybe a little bit further along from a financial perspective. And then there's a, 30-year-old that, okay, they don't have as much saved up, but they think they have the chops to run a business. Like, and maybe there's a 40-year-old in between, but just, those two ends of the spectrum, are those different approaches to how you might go about acquiring a business? And then after we talk about that, I want to talk about going from 1 to 5 and what you need to do to get there. But a 30-year-old versus a 50-year-old, what are the differences in approaches they might take to becoming a business owner?
Yeah, I think the misconception is that you need to have that large bank account and net worth to be able to buy a business. Sure, there's something to that, but at the same time, there are so many not even investors or guys who have operated businesses, holdcos, several, that maybe they're flipping companies, whatever they're doing. And maybe they have the net worth, maybe they're 60 or 50 or whatever. And they don't have the energy to operate these companies anymore, but they have the knowledge and they have the money, and they're looking for guys to be able to operate, the right guys to operate these businesses. And I think if you get your systems and your organization and your skill sets and get all that in touch, there's guys looking for, there's plenty of money out there. It's just getting in the right circles, talking and those opportunities out there. I even think for, like you said, 30, but even 25 and 30. I listen to, not so much anymore, but, Acquiring Minds podcast, which is awesome, talking about acquisition. And I'm blown away by these guys who are 25, 30, and they are, getting after it and be able to own their own business. So the opportunity is there. There's no excuse.
And honestly, there's a unique opportunity for business owners that are, baby boomers and of that age that don't have a succession plan in place. There's seller financing combined with bank. There's SBA. There's all kinds of ways from a financial perspective to get into business. And they just need the energy and leadership from somebody that can go hustle and make it happen. So I appreciate that. So you want to take this from one company you acquired to, one per year for 5 years, which means you can't, like, the level of leadership to run a company versus 5 are two different things. How do you get there personally, honestly? How do you become the person, or are you the person that is ready to run 5 companies? How do you think about the difference in those two things?
It's huge. I'm still, I learned quickly, which Sean has been a huge help. I had to shift my identity, in August, actually, a couple months ago, because I realized that I'm gritty, right? I will figure it out. I will outwork anyone. that's where I live, is in the weeds, right? And then with Jarvis, I started operating like that, and I wanted to get into the weeds of everything. And I was almost stuck just because the team wasn't performing as I was hoping, and everything like that. And I realized that I need to get out. I had to change my whole identity to ownership, and get above and start leading instead of being in the weeds. So that's been a big mind shift for me, and I'm there, which is great. So to answer your question, I think it's a learn as I go, because certainly Aileron will help me. But can I say that I'm ready to own 5 companies right now? Probably not, but I know I will figure it out. And, we're looking to be able to have those 5 companies have a central office that will, cover the compliance and IT and marketing and our big time
Back
goal
office.
is really basically a back office. Yeah, exactly. And so we'll figure it out. I'm not saying I know all those answers now, but I'm confident Sean and I will beyond figure that out.
And I think it's so important to recognize you don't know it all. You're not saying, you have it all figured out now, but
Right.
You're confident in your ability to figure it out. And I think that's partially because these big shifts you made over the last 5-10 years in your career is, okay, I've made these changes. I didn't know what I know now going into those changes, but I figured it out. The other thing that you didn't reference, but part of figuring it out is imagine the personal growth, the leadership growth that you're going to have to figure it out. You're going to grow a lot because
Yep.
of your vision and where you guys are taking the company. So I love that so much. I want you to step back and think about what you've done, the experience you've had in the private chef world, your interactions with Clay Mathile, which is amazing, but what you're doing now, and the impact you're having, not just on the companies you're buying, but your family and the example you're setting. Step back and reflect. How does what you do? How does it make you feel?
I mean, I'm just full of gratitude on so many levels. I tell my wife, she's stuck with me through these 29 years and my craziness of everything. And it's nice to be able to get the fruits of that and really kind of build the life that we want. Sean and I talked about it before we even started Second Cell of how do we do this? How do we want to do this? And one of the big things is we wanted to build, Second Cell around our personal life and how we want to live our life. And whether that's location, whether that's travel, whatever it may be with our kids, but that comes first, and that's what we're doing. So, Second Cell or Jarvis Mechanical is not dictating how we live our life, and that was huge for Sean and I. And now instead of that just be thought, and that's being put into action right now. It's surreal, and it's all that planning and everything. It's certainly a lot of fun, and so just gratitude, and so yeah.
That's awesome. And I think filled with gratitude. And I think that you're conquering the perception that, if you're working 60, 70 hours a week as an employee or whatever it might be, and you're thinking, starting a business is just going to be 60 or 70 hours more of the same. It can be, but you can also design it so it isn't. And you can design it around, other areas of your life and align it so it's in support of them versus opposing them, which can happen, but not if you're intentional about it. And that's why I think it's so important to get honestly, what you and Sean did is you got clarity up front as to how this is going to look. And now you're building it around that. And I'm sure you get off track from time to time. I'm sure there's long hours, long days from time, 100%. Sure. But you know where the compass is and where you get back to, and you'll get back there. You'll get back there, whether that's next week, next month. You can course correct because you know where you're going. You have the compass, you have the guide. Darren, this has been so impactful, so helpful. Where would you guide people? What books, podcasts, resources, whatever it might be? Like what has been really impactful for you?
just mindset of, and you hear these over and over and over. So all these books. So I think initially just to get out of the W-2 mindset, Rich Dad, Poor Dad totally is a wake up call. That's a very initial introductory to that mindset, which is huge. And then, more so on the business where you don't have to start a business, you can buy a business. Definitely Buy Then Build by Walker Deibel, which was huge. He actually has Acquisition Lab as well, and those guys are great. Coursework and kind of, again, getting into those right circles. As I mentioned, Acquiring Minds podcast. I would listen to that just to be able to every day, just to get into that mindset of that I can do this, and listening to these stories of guys buying businesses. So it was that was huge as well.
Awesome, Darren. This has been great. You did phenomenal. Chills throughout the episode, and honestly, just regret can hurt, but you can also address it. You can also change it. You can also fix it. It's not too late. The second thing is regret changed for you to just an amazing feeling of gratitude. And you could, if you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, you could see it in Darren's face, and you could hopefully feel it on the audio too. But just he's feeling grateful. That doesn't mean he's not working hard. It doesn't mean he's not making sacrifices, but he just has that feeling of gratitude and peace that he's going after it. And I just respect that so much. Darren, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. How can people find out more about what you're doing?
Yeah, you can certainly track me down on LinkedIn. Yeah, certainly reach out through LinkedIn and whatnot. But maybe, Phil, you can put on our websites, meaning Second Sale, and certainly Jarvis Mechanical as well.
We will definitely put those websites on. Find Darren on LinkedIn. Darren, thanks so much for the Purpose Matrix. Signing off.